Hello, Ty. It's again we meet, but in a little bit of different setting this time. I know we had talked about that we was gonna do a little FaceTime, and I wanted to do a little documentary. That's a mini one on my journey to better health. So I just called it Friday the 13th, and it's a reason for that. So I got up on Friday the 13th, and I hadn't been feeling well for a while. And you know how you tell yourself, it'll be better tomorrow, and you put off going to the doctor, and you still not feeling that good, and you say, okay. And then after a while, things just get beyond your control. Now, I was born in 1963, so that officially makes me a baby boomer. And we, at this age, we got some issues. The car's starting to get a little wear and tear on it, like a house. You build a house and it's all bright and shining when you first put it up. Windows shining, the gutters are good, the basement's steady. But as time go on, things start to change. And just like a house, if you don't pay attention to those things and start to take care of it, it's going to pile up. And it's not like you can let your house fall down and then try to build it back up. Don't work like that. Same thing with our bodies. People my age, we got to do some work. And I'm just coming from my personal experience. And the reason I call it Friday the 13th, because like I said, I had been feeling bad, not the greatest, but I just had let it go. And as I let it go, I was talking to my sister, my Carolyn, as we all know, and she said, "You sound winded," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "You sound huffy, like you can't catch your breath." I said, "You know what? I was feeling like that because my stomach is not right, my head is hurting, and I just don't feel good. I don't feel right." And she said, "I think you need to get to the doctor." So of course then things start to ratchet up. I had already been dealing with a blood pressure like raging, sometime like 178 over 103, and that's like stroke level. And so on September, Friday the 13th, which is with my little niece's birthday, I only had one, but it wasn't such a good day for me. I ended up going to the emergency room, and oh my God, they thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. It was just, and it was a very alone feeling, like, my grandkids, my child, that's what I kept thinking about, because, when you're gone, it don't affect you. It affects who you leave behind. And it's not necessary because we could take better care of ourselves. I should have taken better care of myself. So as I got to the hospital, my cousin, which I also called my sister, Vivian, she dropped everything. She was finna head out of town, and she said, "No, I'm gonna go with you." And she did. She went with me. We checked in. And for it to be an emergency room situation, it went pretty fast. I got stuck. I got squares. I got shot up with needles. I had tests going, and all the time the blood pressure just ratcheted up, 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 up. And so finally the doctor got concerned, and he was like, "We can't let you go back home. We're going to have to admit you." So I was admitted to the hospital. That night, had to go in on the ambulance. And it wasn't a good feeling. I was riding backwards and I got nauseated, threw up. I'm just going to be really real here because I want everybody to realize that when your house is falling down around your head, you got to do some drastic things. And my house was falling down on Friday the 13th. So I get to the hospital, and for some reason, our rules was nobody can spend the night. I'm like, oh my God. And I already felt alone, just in this. Because when you going through something, you look around and it's you going through it. You hear about other people going through it. But when it's your turn to go through it, you be like, sometimes you can't even pray because you've gone past the point of praying. You be like, what is going on? And so I was admitted, and they kept taking blood out of the strangest place, my hand. And it was like one little girl, she was just digging the needle in. She said, "Your veins are rolling." I'm like, "Well, look, let them roll because I can't take this too much more." And so that night I did one of those tests. He said some was inflammation around my heart. And so that was the only way they could take the test, that they needed to check the enzymes in my heart. And they said they were too high, they were elevated. And so I said, well, you come to the hospital to get help, working on the building, right? And so I allowed them to do it once, but I'm like, I don't know if I can keep going through this. And God sent, thank God, another phlebotomist, that's what they call them. And she put a warm glove with water, filled with water, on my hand and made the vein pop up. So it's always a specialist that knows just how to do. Have a plumbing problem, you don't do it yourself, you call the plumber. So in this case, excuse me, because I get emotional, when I talk about it. Anyway, that was a test that was hard. Then I couldn't eat anything by mouth. And so they was going to take that test, I thought, that night, which was Friday. So I hadn't had anything to eat because I was really nauseous. So I couldn't eat it. So it didn't matter that night. So throughout that night, they were checking and coming in, trying to get the blood for the test. That was really hard. The bed felt like a rock, but I was grateful for the help. But it was very uncomfortable. So the next day, I was still there. And they came in and said, well, we're going to need to do a stress test. I'm like, well, what they talking about here? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. One of the reasons my house is falling, because I hadn't been doing any exercise. Because I've had several back surgeries, and it's just hard to do. Hard, but not impossible. Because if I'm honest, I could have been walking. You can always do something. If you can stand up, do that. Because standing better than sitting. Sitting better than laying. If you can't run, you can walk. We can always do something. That's kind of my point. Don't just let yourself be flat, because it's hard to pump up 4 flat tires. Just think about that. And I was down to 1 tire. And so Saturday came, still there, and they come in, and I guess I saw 8 doctors, several nurses. They were all so good to me. And it was so much information, it was just so much coming at you at one time. It was just kind of hard to focus on that. So thank God the charge nurse allowed my cousin, Vivian, to stay there with me overnight, because she said she won't leave him. And, you just need somebody sometime to just walk with you. Just, they may not can do nothing, but it just helps to have somebody to walk with. I'm sorry. But it just makes me emotional to think about that. But anyway, she was willing to go with me to that extent, and she was getting every word they said. And I got some sisters that were in Maryland, so they couldn't be there. Some back home. One of my sisters, she couldn't be there because she's disabled. She can't walk. It's like, but she would like. And so they couldn't be there. And Vivian was relaying every word. She got it down to a science, and we was just going back and forth, back and forth. It was a harrowing experience, as you can tell. It was emotional. But so Saturday went by, no food still, nothing by mouth, and not that I couldn't have used a little bit of weight loss, but I didn't want to go on a crash diet. You know what I'm saying? And so after they decided they wasn't going to do the test that night, I said, okay, well, what about the food? A cracker, some Jello or something. And they did. They gave me something, but it was still stinky. Soon as I couldn't sleep because, like I said, the bed was a rock. Soon as I fell off to sleep, of course, they had to hook me up to a heart monitor because, like I said, it was something going on with my heart. So hooked me up to the heart monitor. Just as I fell off to sleep, the batteries gave out in the heart monitor. So they had to come in there, wake me up. The batteries gave out in the heart monitor. They had to change the heart monitor. Yeah. So I hadn't slept. I hadn't slept that Friday night. Of course, I went in on Friday 13th. The 14th, I was still there. Hadn't slept. Hadn't really ate anything. And they delayed the test until Sunday morning. Okay, so This is what they call a stress test. And they said, now, Miss Fitzgerald, if you can't do it, we can give you medication to stress your heart because we need to know what's going on when your heart is stressed and when it's at rest. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm going to get the medication. I had to get on the treadmill. Haven't never been on a treadmill before. And they wanted to get my heart up to 135. 135 beats per minute. Okay. And it was a 3-minute test. And this is how bad my house had fallen down. A 3-minute test, I couldn't even make 2 minutes. I think I petered out at 1 minute and 20 seconds. But my heart rate got up to 135. So that's what they needed for that. And the doctor came in. She said, well, we got what we needed. But let me ask you something. Okay. How much exercise do you get? What was the point in line? I said, well, none, other than walking around my house, cooking, cleaning, gardening. And, let me just tell you this, guys. They don't consider that exercise. They want you to get out every day and try to get at least 30 minutes of exercise, like walking if you can walk, bike, whatever you like to do, or whatever you are able to do. Let's try to do that, because let me tell you, the cost is heavy. And so after I got through with that, and mind you, I didn't have any tennis shoes, had to wear my everyday shoes and some paper pants because I didn't have any clothes because I left from the emergency room to the hospital. So I didn't have anything to wear to do the test. So they gave me a pair of paper pants. And they fit okay. I didn't think they was going to fit, but I didn't burst out of them. So that was a good thing. And so we got through with the test. More doctors, more sticking, more testing, more blood. And to make a long story shorter, when I came out of the hospital, I had to go see like 5 additional doctors to follow up. I found out I was diabetic. I found out that they don't know why my pressure ran up so high, but one of the things they suspected was I have this thing called rhinitis. It's like a non-allergic thing that happens to your nose when you smell gas or get upset, any kind of strong odor or emotional upset. It stops your nose completely up. It's just like cement. And so I was using these over-the-counter nasal sprays. Don't ever use those because it will, and they say be cautious if you have high blood pressure, thyroid disease, kidney disease. They mean it. So if you can help it, go see a doctor if you got the same condition I have, any kind of sinus problems. Do not use over-the-counter. Now, I'm not saying anything against that company. I'm just talking about my personal experience and my health. If you have high blood pressure like I do, you do not need to use those products because they will cause your pressure to go extremely high. Now, before I went to the hospital, I also had a tooth pulled and I had been on antibiotics. And so I just had a perfect storm of just drama going on with my health. And I know that it's not going to turn around overnight. I do know that. So when I got out of the hospital, I had to go see my primary care doctor who diagnosed me with the diabetes. Well, he treats me for it, but I was diagnosed in the hospital. And it's a medication they put you on. I guess I can say it. It's my medicine. It's called Mounjaro. Mounjaro. I think that's the name of it. Anyway, it's an insulin. You probably have heard of that. It's got insulin. I have to take that once a week. I have to take some called metformin once a day and watch my diet and do a little exercise as much as I can tolerate. Because I've had like 5 back surgeries. Like I said, a house is coming down and I'm trying to prop it up. So with those 5 back surgeries, of course, you're not going to be the same with artificial joints as you are with your own. So you have to adjust. So you have to do the exercises that you can do. Now, my neurologist, had to go see him, gave me some yoga exercise you can do in a chair. Now, if I'm honest, I haven't tried but a few, but I'm planning on continuing with that. And I have been walking, have changed my diet. And if I'm honest, the process is slow, but I do hope steady. I hope when you see me again in November, you can see some change because I'm determined to stick to this. My purpose in doing this is to just have a journey to better, living better. Not so much as living long, but living better. You want to live good. A lot of people live long. In the Bible, they talk about Methuselah lived 969 years. Now, I don't plan on being here 969 years. And I don't know what kind of shape Methuselah was in, but now I'm 61 and I would like to live at least to 80. But I want to live good. And it's not going to happen by itself. It's like the house we were talking about earlier. You can't expect to move in a house and don't do any kind of maintenance to it. You got to maintain your house. You got to keep those gutters clean. You got to maintain the basement. You got to do your foundation. Make sure that nothing is getting in. Because once the foundation go, it's a long way back to fixing it. You got to brace the house. I know something about that because our house got a little problem with the foundation. So it has to be braced. We had a little water coming in. So the foundation had to be dug out and then, stabilized. So the water won't come in. Same with our bodies. We won't ever get back to a new house. But I do believe with the proper maintenance, we can get better. We can get better. We can shine up our windows. We can fix our windows, which is your eyes now, our windows. Get your glasses if you need some glasses. There's no shame in using things to help you. There's no shame in a cane. That's a brace. If that's what you need to keep you going, don't be trying to stumble around here. Because let me just tell you, it's not a good look. Just stumbling around on everybody. Get your cane or walk or wherever you are. Don't be ashamed of that. Because it's just maintenance on your house. This is where we live and have our being. And if we don't maintain it, who will? My sister and I have this saying, you have to be your own advocate. You have to be. You can't look at me and tell all the things that's going on inside my house. Just like you can't look at your neighbor's house and see what's going on inside their house. Same with our bodies. If we don't go get our checkups, if we don't take our medication, we are letting our house go to ruin. And you cannot live in a house that's falling down. I'm just going to say that. So Friday the 13th was really an eye-opener for me because a lot of things I had let slip. And I should have been doing better. And you know what? I could have been doing better. It was no excuse for that. So I hope that if you tuned into this, you can get something out of this. I'm not trying to body shame anybody or bash anybody for being ill. That's not our purpose here. Our purpose is to let you know that you're not alone, number one. And number two, we've gotten to an age that we got to take care of ourselves. Our motivation is for us to be better and also to be here for your family. I got 2 little beautiful grandchildren and I would give my life for them. And I want to be here to see them, go to school and go to college even, get through high school and see what they're going to become because they are some amazing little kids. I want to be here for that. And I have to make that decision. I have to, every day of my life, I have a decision to make. Am I going to do the work on my house or am I going to let my house fall down? I have decided to go on this journey and put the work in. And I hope that the next time you see me, that you'll be able to see some changes in my house. And I want to just thank you guys for listening. And it's a part 2. And I'll see you in November.